It is one of the biggest days on the Hong Kong racing calendar, and it happens right here at Sha Tin this Sunday. It's FWD Champions Day, and this is what you can look forward to.
It's Lucky Sweynesse. He's a half a length over Wellington and Master 8, but he's simply too good.
It's Flaming Rib who's got the lead for Shane Murphy, and Flaming Rib takes the Dukan sprint.
Two great horses of Hong Kong, but it's Golden 60, the greatest of Hong Kong. California Spangle, the chess master, that is Purton, tactically brilliant.
Is drawing clear, and William Haggis has done it again.
Geraldina goes on, she's wobbling, Geraldina comes on and wins.
The perfect racehorse, Romantic Warrior, and he's now a Hong Kong Cup winner.
And delighted to welcome to the studio Graham Cunningham and Francesca Cumani to talk about the big day. And Francesca, you've done the barrier draw this morning. Heard you mention 8 years since your last visit to Hong Kong.
I know. How has that happened? 8 years somehow. I used to come for the international races when I was working for CNN, and I loved it. So many good things about Hong Kong, not only the racing, but the food in particular, so good. So I'm thrilled to be back. First time for this meeting.
And Foul Braff, does it sound like 2003 or feel like 2003 since he won?
Golly, it's really that long. And when Presvis 2009, even that's a long time ago. It's just the years are passing.
They have indeed.
It's strange to think that Britain hasn't had a winner of any type, any race at all in Hong Kong since Red Caddo won the Hong Kong Vase in 2011. So we're talking a 10-11 year itch for the UK.
Oh wow.
You're overdue.
Yeah, we are. But there's something somewhat different about this year's FWD Champions Day. People will look, well, Wellington's back. He's won the sprint twice. Golden 60 is looking for 3 in the Champions Mile. Romantic Warrior won this race last year, but there is a difference. Last year, COVID strife, it was purely a Hong Kong affair. This year, there's some very dangerous new kids in town. Great to have horses from the UK, from New Zealand, from Australia, and of course from Japan.
Absolutely, it is a true international meeting, and we're going to preview the 3 big ones right here on the show, starting with the QE2 Cup. And the field lines up this way with a Romantic Warrior looking to make it back-to-back wins. He's at the top of the book. Dubai Honours on the way home from Australia, having won 2 Group 1 races down there at Rosehill and Randwick. Down on the Kid is back. He was placed in the Longjing Hong Kong Cup behind Romantic Warrior last time. Money Catcher yet to win past 1,800 metres, then the Japanese. Prognosis has Zac Purton, and Geraldina will be a Christian Demuro for Takashi Saito. That is the field. It's not big in number, Francesca, but it is very big on quality.
Yes, and I'm interested in tactics as well, because the word is that there's not a huge amount of speed. I think the Japanese horses, well, I'm generalising a bit, but they tend to like firm ground and pretty good speed. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens with them. I do feel, especially racing in Hong Kong, that the locals have an advantage because they race on the same tracks all the time. The jockeys are so adept to racing on these tracks. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Just before we talk to Graham, Dubai Honour. Terrific in Australia. He's been here before. Can he bring that Australian form and turn that result around for the UK?
It's so funny, isn't it? Because I obviously do a lot of work Australia and England, and when you get a horse like Dubai Honour, who's probably more of a Group 2, Group 3 horse in England, going to Australia and winning 2 Group 1s and beating the very, very best of their horses, they go, oh, he's improved, he's grown a leg since he's been here. So that's the question. Has he really improved, or was he beating slightly lower grade horses? Gosh, I was just going to Australia.
But tapping into
to be careful.
We'll cut it out later.
but then we'll work that out, won't we? Because he's now meeting the very best that Hong Kong has to offer. So we'll see.
Tapping into your Aussie knowledge, your father, Luca, was a fantastic international trainer, a real pioneer. William Haggis is now taking those horses, Adabe, Dubai Honour, a few other horses have gone down there and done well. And he's just shelling peas. What do the Aussies think of his record down there?
Well, slight difference in that we very much used to target Melbourne in the spring, and William Haggis has made a bit of a niche out of going to Sydney in the autumn. And good on him, because there are some really good prizes. There's lots of money on offer, and especially if you like a horse with who's got a bit of a soft track record, often they get a lot of rain at that time of year. So, well, I mean, he said it was the media scrutiny was intense in Australia. He was doing interviews left, right, and centre, and it was really kind of Ashes style, kind of us versus them. But he put them in their place.
He's absolutely not desperate, but he's massively keen to tick the Hong Kong box. He's won big in Australia. I think he's had 6 runners, only 6 in Hong Kong, but he's desperately keen to win here. What I want to ask you about Francesca is you touched on a ground angle there. He clocked 202.3 on a good track when he won the Ranvet, 207 and change mark on a soft track when he won, Rosehill and then Ranwick for the Queen Elizabeth. The conditions here are somewhat different. He has run well here on fast ground before, but I think the conditions here are going to be a different question for him.
Yeah, it would be some training performance if William Hagg is able to get him to peak 3 times in 2 different countries at Grade 1 level. Looking back through his form, I was thinking that too. I was going, is he a real kind of soft track performer? He has won on good and firmer tracks in England, which might be deemed to be kind of good to soft here. They don't seem too worried about that.
He beat a horse called Animo in Australia.
Yeah.
Animo is regarded as one of the best horses Australia's produced for years and years.
Yes, indeed. We need to talk about Romantic Warrior. He's running sub 2 minute 2,000 metres. He's at home. What does Dubai Honour have to do to roll the local champ?
He has to be a top quality Group 1 horse because we know Romantic Warrior is that. Now, 2 defeats since December, but the key piece of form for him is the Longines Hong Kong Cup. Look at the form mark. Panther Lassa has gone to Saudi, won a huge race. Jacques d'Or has won a big race, Group 1 in Japan. Romantic Warrior, a Roman Emperor has won a big race. Money Catch has won. And he absolutely blitzed those rivals. So on that form, he sets the bar terrifically high. But what do you think about his last 2 performances? One was a mile, too sharp for him. Last time out, beaten by Golden 60 in the Hong Kong Gold Cup. It wasn't so much that he was beaten, it was the horses just in behind. Money Catcher, a couple of other horses, Panfield. They're not normally the sort of horses who should be getting within a length and a half of those top notches.
You're exactly right. His trial since has been outstanding, so you've got that to work on as well.
Zac Purton rode him that day, and I think Zac thought, let's have a look under the bonnet here. And when he had a look, there was a 22.1 closing sectional, so maybe he's right back on top.
Yeah, he might be back to 100% peak fitness now, Romantic Warrior. Speaking of Zac Purton, the start point is all important over the 2,000 metres. It's just down there in front of the grandstand. It's a short run to the first turn, and Zac walked Nick Child what it's like to jump from the 2,000 metre barrier.
Well, Zac, here we are, the 2,000 metre start at Sha Tin, possibly the most important start on this whole course. Talk me through where you want to be, because there's this glaringly short run into that first turn.
Yeah, obviously you like to draw well to start with, and you want to hope that your horse parades well before the race. The crowd here can stir them up a little bit, so you want them to be saving their energy for the race. But you want to, depending on what type of horse you're on, but you'd always like to draw well. I think it's only 125 metres until we start to hit that corner, so we don't have long. And if you can jump out of the gates and roll into a position, you're going to have a lot more energy left in your horse at the end of the race. Whereas if you draw out, you're on a horse that goes forward, and you've got a couple that kick up, you got to burn a few carrots to get there. And likewise, if you've got to go back, you might end up going too far back, and you're sort of 2-3 lengths further back than ideally where you'd like to be. So it's a really tricky start. You always want to draw well, and you'd always like your horse to break cleanly.
I'd noticed, having a look back at some of your famous wins over this trip, that you come out of the gates and straight away you're looking to that inside rail. Is that very much the element of focus? You've got to be razor sharp, and you need to get a spot early.
Like I said, you don't have long to that first corner, so you've got to be decisive in the decision that you make, and you have to have that at the forefront of your mind before the gates open. And then obviously it's about executing that. So it's just about trying to get the little things right. Obviously, firstly, just get those first couple of strides right, and then you're just trying to get your position as soon as you can, because if you are caught out on a limb around this corner, it's very hard to win from there.
Normcore outside the 3. Normcore's run to the front for Zac Purton over Windbright and Magical, and Normcore won the cup.
You've got a good association with Japanese horses over this sort of distance in Hong Kong. Obviously, Normcore, one that certainly does spring to mind, of course. You're running Prognosis this year in the QE2 Cup. A complete unknown, I suppose, for you, apart from what you've seen on form and on replays. In an ideal world, where do you want to be from the start here? Where would you, I mean, it's going to be a small field, yes, but where would you like to be?
Yeah, on any horse, I still want to draw well. He's a back marker. He hasn't got much speed early. He's actually got no speed at all. And the Japanese horses historically aren't the quickest out of the gates. Their barriers are bigger than our barriers. Right. So I think they get here and they feel a little bit tighter and they feel like they jam up a little bit. And their racing, they don't hit the ground running as quick as we do. They take it, 30, 50 metres to start to build their momentum, and then they build into the tempo of their races. Whereas in Hong Kong, our horses are very sharp from the gate. So the fact that he hasn't shown any speed over there, I'm not expecting him to show any here. So the barrier is probably not as relevant, but I would still just like to draw somewhere where I can just allow him to come out and travel where he's comfortable.
Well, that interview was filmed earlier in the week, Graham. We now know that Zac has mentioned the all-important barrier draw, that Prognosis has come up with barrier 3.
Yeah, he's a good quality horse, and what we know about him is he's right on his A game at the moment. The question is that A game good enough? That warrants, I think, is it a 113 international rating? I think he's more a lengthener than a quickener, so I think tempo is going to be important for him.
Yeah, which I think could be an issue. You've also told me that Geraldine is likely to sit back. A lot of the Japanese horses, well, in my mind, they'd be used to solid tempos throughout the race, so sit and sprint scenarios aren't going to suit them, which, again, to me, says it's going to favour the local hopes.
Yeah, Moneycatcher, I think, will be ridden quite steadily in front and then launch a bit for home. People like you used to call him Money Muncher. He was 0 from 10 in his first season, but he's a different horse these days.
He was, and he won the Sasa Ladies Purse, and he's won against Incent. I know he had form over longer in New Zealand, but I just wonder if 2,000 metres might be still a bit too far for him. His both wins have been 1,800. The
Japanese horse I'm quite keen on is the impeccably red mare, Geraldina, by Maurice out of Gentle Donna, world-class pedigree by any standards. And I think she's getting good at the right time. I give her a pass on a last run. It was first run after a break. But her Christmas run, Christmas Day, Ari McKinnon, third to Equinox, who's probably the best turf horse in the world.
Have you seen her here?
Yes, I have. First day, very hot and sweaty.
I'm told she hasn't quite come in her coat and she has been a bit unsettled.
She's been better as the weeks go on, and she worked really nicely down the straight yesterday. She's a very fluent mover. She is a hold-up horse, and she probably needs tempo, but I sense that, remember Love's Only You?
Yep.
She has a similar sort of profile to Love's Only You. I'm not saying she's quite that good, but I think she's good enough to hit the board for sure. I'm
told of the Japanese horses, Dan on the Kid looks the best.
He's a specimen.
Yeah?
He's gorgeous looking horse.
But he's got a bit to do form-wise to reverse things with Romantic
4.5, and if Romantic Warrior is the same model as in December, he won't reverse that form. But he has run a really good race in the Osaka High last time, went down in a 3-way go, and he looks tremendous.
I wonder though if the tempo thing, because often when you look at a race and you think, well, there's no tempo, there's no tempo. The jockeys are probably doing the same thing, and they're thinking, well, maybe I'll sit a bit closer, maybe I'll sit a bit closer, and then it could create a little bit more of a tempo.
Yeah, we have 2 proven elite Group 1 horses at the top of the market here, and how do you think they'll bet, Mark? Because the home crowd tend to go in heavy for their champions, don't they?
I've got no doubt he'll be the favourite, Romantic Warrior. Dubaina will have his supporters. The Japanese always have their supporters everywhere they go, and that's never any different here, Francesca.
Oh gosh, we've learnt to be so fearful of the Japanese, haven't we? With what they've done, well, they've slowly and quietly, but very stealthily and very successfully built up their own really good product. And these horses they're launching on all these international raids, and now you cannot rule any of them out.
We're off to a break here on the FWD Champions Day preview show. After this, another special guest joins us. It's the trainer of Aegon, Andrew Forsman. Welcome back to this very special FWD Champions Day preview. We've got the Champions Mile coming up now. Just before we get on with that, Racing to Win, we'll have a breakdown of all the races on the website, hkjc.com. It is a huge day at Sha Tin on Sunday. You can jump on the website and check them out race by race, and features on the 3 Group 1s also. Our focus is the Champions Mile, and the starters list is as follows. Speaking of champions, Golden 60 is looking for history if he can make it 3 straight. California Spangle, he did beat Golden 60 going back to International Day. He's a last start winner of the Chairman's Trophy. Aegon is up from New Zealand. Beauty Joy draws barrier number 2. My Oberon is here from Australia and has come up with barrier number 9 after running second in the Doncaster last time. Glorious Dragon comes back from Dubai. Golfy Happy draws barrier 1, and Voyage Bubble, the Derby winner, makes his way into the race also. But pleased to say, joined in the studio right now by Aegon's trainer Andrew Forsman. Andrew, welcome to Hong Kong.
Thanks very much. Good to be here.
You've drawn barrier number 6, which is inside Golden 60 and also California Spangle. Did that make you a little happier when the 6 number came up?
Yeah, when 6 came out, I wasn't that happy, but then when you look at sort of how it's going to shape up, I think Voyage Bubble's drawn inside of us. Healthy Happy, I think, has even drawn the rail. So I think there's a fair bit of speed inside, and then obviously with California Spangle outside of us, it probably should, or it should hopefully work out all right.
What sort of horse is he? Is he a get-back horse? Do you like to ride him forward?
No, he'll get back. He's never that great out of the gates, and we're putting the blinkers on first time, so that could even accentuate that slowness out of the barrier. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, but given it's a small field, hopefully it's not too much of a drama.
How do you measure up a horse like yours, his form that he's bringing here from overseas? How do you compare it to the local form? A horse like Golden 60?
It's very hard. I mean, how do you? I guess you take what Law of Indices did in the international meeting. You know that, look, while those 2 horses are very good, it's hard to say how much better they are than the Australasian form. So that gives you a little bit of confidence.
Andrew, have you had a look at what sort of effect the blinkers might have in the mornings?
He has had a jump out at Flemington in them, and he had one good solid gallop in them here last Saturday on the turf and was very good in them. So I guess why we've put them on is just because he has been a little bit. He hits a flat patch at an important time of his races recently, and it's something we've always wanted to do, just haven't had quite the right time to do it. It's a bit of a risk, but I think it should improve him.
As a showcase for your business, this could hardly be higher profile, could it?
No, it's been great, and the Jockey Club have been very obliging. They couldn't have done more for us while we've been here, and it is great for my business heading forward. Obviously, I'm only just starting out on my own right, and so far everything's gone well, and great to be a part of this.
We'll have more from Andrew in just a moment, but the horse they're all trying to beat and stopping making history is the great one. It's Golden 60.
More than this is coming quickly. Golden 60 in front. More than this. Driving late. Missed. He won it. Golden 60 has done it and beaten More Than This, who gave him more than a scare. The Ferrari, he hits overdrive, and the Champions Mile, he's headed to Hong Kong's champion again. Golden 60 won it.
There he is, Andrew, Golden 60. What's it like having a horse in the race as the trainer trying to beat the champ?
Yeah, pretty daunting, that's for sure. It's hard to beat a horse like that anywhere, let alone on his home turf. So, no, it's just a thrill to be a part of a race with a horse like that in it.
And of course, Francesca, Oberon's in the race as well, representing Australia.
Yeah, Oberon's an interesting one, isn't he? Well, we've seen the Nisham team come here with Laws of Indices and run a really good third at a big price. So I wouldn't disregard him completely. In terms of form, he's been a bit patchy. He won at Moonee Valley on his first start in the country, and that was a good performance. But then he hasn't really kept a solid level of form. But the second in the Doncaster handicap was a good run. He was, 30-1 that day as well. So you can't rule him out completely, and he brings also good form from when he's previously trained in England as well.
That's exactly right, Graham. He comes from the Northern Hemisphere too, Oberon.
Yeah, he was a good quality horse in Europe. He's emblematic of modern international racing. He's raced in UK, he's raced in France, I think he's been to Dubai, been to Australia, now in Hong Kong. So he's a seasoned traveller. But the 2 key horses, we think, on the ratings and the form book and their records here, are Golden 60 and California Spangle. And I had to jot these numbers down for Golden 60 because they're sort of hard to believe. International rating 125, 8 Group 1s, 2 Horse of the Years, Hong Kong prize money $136 million, 24 wins from 28 starts. When he's put that head in front, he's never been beaten. He's 24 from 24 when he's hit the front. And it's not normal for a horse who's almost 8 years of age, Andrew, to be hitting this level so frequently. He's a stellar horse, isn't he?
That's the impressive thing, is how he's retained the form right the way through to this age, and he's still racing as good as he ever has.
He's been managed very carefully, I think, by Francis Loy and Vincent Ho, Francesca.
I was going to ask that though. How long can he keep going at the top level? Is he as good now as he has been in the past?
There's an old saying that they say at the Stars, they're not as good as they once were, but once they can be as good as they ever were. And he doesn't hit that height all the time now. But when he's good, Mark, and you've called him so many times, you've got to keep coming up with new lines for a horse like this.
Try to. Yeah, he's just absolutely amazing horse. and that will to win that he's got. I'm sure you're looking forward to seeing him for the first time in the flesh.
I've
Francesca.
heard so much about him. I know the name so well. I followed his career. The record's unbelievable. Especially, I find the fact that he's trained in Hong Kong, and I think it must be relatively hard to keep horses fresh here because you've got such kind of crowded facilities. But I'm curious because in this last run it was 2,000 metres, and he was quite off the bridle early on, and now he's dropping back down to a mile. How's the tempo going to work with him? And it's funny because he does just find a way to win, but I can't help thinking I'd like Vincent Ho just to sit a little bit closer to the speed. But will he travel well enough given the last run?
He's become a little more relaxed in the early part of the race. The sectional times are very informative. First time out this season, he zipped home in 21.32 mark, but he's not matched those closing splits recently. Francesca, I know that you think his old rival, California Spangled, can put it up to the champ.
I hate to say it because he is such a legend, Golden 60, and I'd love to see him continue the winning streak. However, I think he is 7 years old now. California Spangled's 5 years old. He has beaten him before, and I just think tactically they've said that they're going to go forward. If he's not challenged too much on the lead, and if Zac Purton can get the right splits, I think there is a chance that the younger horse on the scene could have the advantage.
He's 3-1 down against Golden 60, but the one for the Spangled was the big one, the Longines Hong Kong Mile, so it can be done.
It is, and to find out if it can be done again, let's hear from the trainer of California Spangled, Tony Cruz.
I think gate 8 is not a big difference between inside and outside, the small field. I think we're going to stick to our plans as we've been racing him straight to the front.
You mentioned that obviously after he won last time that the plan very much is to lead. He's got that early speed, hasn't he? I think it's such a key asset with a horse like him, isn't it, to get away quickly and get to where he wants to be?
Yeah, I reckon there's no other horses that can match his speed, the early speed. I think he's got all the speed to lead this race easily. And last time we didn't lead this, and we almost got ourselves in trouble. So as you know, when we won the international race in December, we led and we won that way. We're going to stick to the same plan.
So there's Tony Cruz. Andrew, as a trainer of opposition to California Spangled at Golden 60, do you look at hatching a plan to beat them? Do you watch replays trying to think of a way, how can I beat these two? Or you leave it simply up to a world-class jockey like James?
Yeah, I think so. You've got James on. After the barrier draw, I said to the owners it's James's problem now anyway. So look, I think with our pattern of racing, we can't dictate too much. We will be dictated to, and we just have to hope that with 2 or 3 pace influences in the race that it does set up for us.
All right. Your selection, Graham, who do you think wins?
Absolute chance of a head bobber here. I really believe that. I think the old rivals can go head to head, and I would go Golden 60 by a head over the Spangled.
Francesca?
Oh, I think I'm going to have the head bob just the other way.
It could be that way.
The Spangled for me over Golden 60.
That is a look at the Champions Mile. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Great to have you in Hong Kong, and the best of luck for Sunday.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a break here. After this, we're going to hear from the owner of Flaming Rib. It's Michael Owen. The third of the Group 1s is the Chairman's Sprint Prize coming up on Sunday, and the field lines up this way with Lucky Swayness at the top of the bookies looking to make it 5 wins in a row. Wellington, he's last year's winner, looking for back-to-back victory. Sight Success is back from Dubai, as is Duquois. He's come up with barrier number 5. They both ran in the Alquoz Sprint, as did the visitor for Hugo Palmer in Flaming Rib. He ran 11th, but did win in Doha in a Group 3 2 starts ago. Aguri, the Japanese runner, and Master 8 led up in the Sprint Cup last time and comes here off that third behind Lucky Swayness. So that is the field for the Chairman's Sprint Prize. Former footballer Michael Owen is part owner of Flaming Rib, and Nick started by asking Michael about the horse's run last time in Dubai.
When you look at his run, his previous run in Qatar, it was very impressive. Everything went wrong. He had a bad draw and he was on the wide outside, and then he still won really well. So we were really pleased with that. And we went to Dubai with a lot of confidence. And you know what? Our confidence was heightened really when we saw the draw. We were drawn in 12 of 14, and we were under the impression, because that's what recent history has said, that a high draw out in the Alquoz Sprint at Meydan is a good one. As it happened, I think 7 of the first 8 home were drawn 8 or below or something like that. I mean, it was totally the opposite to what we expected. And Oisin Murphy, our jockey, came back with mud splattered on his face, which doesn't often happen in the desert. So it was a little unfortunate in terms of the draw. Things didn't go to plan. However, we didn't win the race on our side either. So there's no sort of, moaning, hard luck stories and whatever. We didn't feel as if we ran our race. But we have got a nice young sprinter on our hands. We do hope that he can turn into a really nice horse in the future. And, the Qatar run, if he reproduces that, then hopefully we can pick up some prize money in Hong Kong. Since I set up Manor House about 18 years ago, we've had international success in various countries. It's been great flying over to America and Canada and Dubai and Australia. But Hong Kong is a very special place. It's got special racing. I've been there many, many times, spent a lot of time in Asia and in Hong Kong. And I've attended a few races at race meetings at Sha Tin as well. So to have a runner there, it's really exciting.
Michael, the horse was a good winner in Qatar in February. When was the plan hatched to possibly come to Hong Kong?
Well, I think you always have an eye on what races are possibilities when you've got a nice horse like Flaming Rib is. Obviously, international racing is a huge thing. There's big incentives to travel the world, and I think when we decided to go to Qatar not so long ago, we sort of looked at the program book and thought, Dubai maybe to follow, and then if we got invited to Hong Kong, that would be great. And then we could look at Royal Ascot maybe when, give them a little break and go to Royal Ascot. So that was sort of in our minds. And then when he won in Qatar, obviously it gives you the confidence to go and search for other big races.
They're Michael's thoughts, Graham. What are your thoughts on Flaming Rib?
First of all, I think it's tremendous to have a British sprinter back in Hong Kong. First for around about 5 years, I think. Second of all, I think Michael Owen and his teams have played in some very tough away games over the years. And this is Man City or Real Madrid away. He's in really deep against Lucky Sweynesse and Wellington. We know he's a smashing horse. Group 3, perhaps Group 2 horse in Britain, Francesca. But based on what we saw in Dubai when he was behind Sight Success and Duke Y, he's got his hands full with those two, let alone Lucky Sweynesse and Wellington. Yeah,
I think you've summed it up quite neatly there and politely. I think he's a level below some of the best sprinters here. It's great that they're participating, great that they've been invited, good for the owners to experience racing in Hong Kong. The word is that he's better on a turning track, despite having finished second in the Commonwealth Cup. But I think he's a little bit up against it. I'd really love to see him run well, Mark, because him running well would encourage other people to say, hello, we can make our mark in the Hong Kong sprinting pool, but he's going to need everything to go right for him. Michael Owen used to have a horse called Big Time Baby at Manor House Stables. He won 3 times, pretty good juvenile. He was sold here and finished second in this race at 28-1 for Manfred Mann behind top quality sprinter Mr. Stunning. So there is a little bit of Owen pedigree in this race.
The other international, Francesca, is a Guri, ran 7th in Group 1 company last time. Is he a horse that would be looking for further than the 1200 metre race? Might he be run off his legs on Sunday?
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because probably other than Lord Canelo, we tend to associate the Japanese horses more with middle distance races. We know they're so strong in that department. I'm actually going to defer to Graham here because I'm not an expert on a Guri.
He's got some speed. He was very game when he won his Group 3, and then last time out, it was a very soft track when he faded late. But you have to second guess the market here in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong punters have a very low opinion of British sprinters, and they're not mad keen on Japanese sprinters, bar Lord Canelo. So I think they'll both go off big prices, and I think they'll do well to hit the board.
And this is part of the reason why they're both going to go off big prices. The champ is Lucky Sweynesse.
Out wide of Kikoshi Masu and close up Spicy Grill, another one for Purton, and a good debut win for Lucky Sweynesse. It's Lucky Sweynesse hanging on, Navis 2, post comes, Lucky Sweynesse looks to have won it a nose over Navis 2. Lucky Sweyness is in front of Lucky Patch, and Lucky Sweyness wins the sprint. It's Lucky Sweyness. He's a half a length over Wellington and Master 8, but he's simply too good. Lucky Sweyness is in front of California Spangle and Wellington. It's McDonald. He's the man for Manfred Man. Lucky Sweyness.
Yeah, he's had a really good season and he's been in great form recently. We know him well. He's continued to work well. He seems very happy in the mornings. So I'm just hoping for a nice draw, hoping that he can jump well and just get himself into the right spot and let him take care of the rest.
Graham is just the star of sprinting in Lucky Sweyness. He was so unlucky on International Day, but has just been awesome since, hasn't he?
He's 4 from 4 since then, Mark, and he keeps raising the bar, not by huge amounts, but he keeps getting a little bit better. And bar that slight tendency to miss half a beat at the stalls, he's really smooth and he's been dominant through the sprint division. He's effective at 1400, he's very effective at 1200. I think he's now 4-2 up against his old rival Wellington, but the key stat perhaps is that the last 3 have all gone Lucky Sweyness' way. I adore Wellington, massive fan of his. I really want to try to tip him and back him, Francesca, but I can't find a real logical reason why he should reverse the form.
Yeah, it does appear that the newer kid on the block in Lucky Sweyness is just taking the mantle from Wellington, who's won this race the last 2 years. He looks like a big, strong, solid individual, all sprinting type Wellington.
Yeah, he
and
is.
now he's a 6-year-old.
He's a tank.
Maybe he's just kind of feeling the effects of the racing a little bit, and he kind of, to me, he kind of doesn't fully let himself down.
You're right. When this race the last 2 years, there's been a surge, a real fast closing sectional, and he's running okay, but he's just not delivering on that earlier promise. So I think he'll run well again. It's a massive day for Richard Gibson and Alexi Badel, and he's bidding for a hat trick, but it's there in the record books that he keeps banging his head against Lucky Sweyness.
Is there anything they can do different tactically?
Well, he's always ridden for a turn of foot, and I think that's the way to ride him. You just have to hope that coming back to this race at this time of year will light the fuse, or that Lucky Sweyness, Zac Purton said he's been a little keener than ideal in his last couple of gallops. Horses can underperform. If Lucky Sweyness does underperform, Wellington's right now again.
What about the ones coming back from Dubai for the Hong Kong stables, Graham? Sight Success and Dubai.
Yeah, they're very closely matched on Dubai form. I think Sight Success's overall CV is slightly the more persuasive, and I think he'll run well. I think he was second favourite for this race 12 months ago, and he ran just a fair 6. I think he's a better horse nowadays, and it's that angle Francesca has already mentioned, that some horses, when they travel, they can gain a little more confidence and strength. And it's significant, I think, that John Size, unusual for him, trialled him this week. Trialled him on Tuesday to just put the final polish on him. So he's got a few pounds to find on the ratings, but if you're looking for possible Quinella options, especially as he may get a fairly unhurried time of it on the front end, Sight Success is one to consider.
It was a decent trial too. He was up on the speed all the way in that trial. Didn't drop him out the back and let him cruise around. No pressure. We need some selections. Starting with yours, Francesca.
I'm not sure I've been hugely original. The only things I have gone against, Golden 60 with California Spangle. In the sprint, I've gone with Lucky Sweyness, and in the QE2, Romantic Warrior.
Romantic Warrior, Graham.
So you want the 3 big winners and 1 or 2 Quinellas. I'm going to go Lucky Sweyness and possibly Sight Success in the sprint. I'm going to go Golden 60 and California Spangle, tightly matched in the mile. And I'm torn in this QE2. Romantic Warrior is tremendous. My heart is with Dubai Honor, but my pocket at a price might be Win & Place Geraldina, the Japanese mare.
All right. Francesca, great to have you back in Hong Kong. Thanks for joining us on the preview show.
Thank you, Mark.
And always good to see you too, Graham.
Thanks, mate.
We need to check the diary before we go here on the preview show. It all kicks off 12:15 on Sunday. We're on air, the first race and earlier start at 12:45. 3 big Group 1s as FWD Champions Day is only a few sleeps away. We'll see you at Sha Tin this Sunday.